time's running out. Auburn leads by a point, and Alabama's 80 yards from the end zone.
Sullivan's back to pass. He runs out of the pocket. He throws for Beasley. Complete.
Stedman Sheely at the controls. He fakes inside to Whitman. Pitches back to Major Ogilvie. There he goes.
And there we go. You wonder what old radio announcers do when they get together. Well, John and I like to talk about great games from the past, particularly games when Auburn played Alabama.
And we're going to relive some of those on the eve of the big continuance of the great rivalry, the South's greatest, in our opinion, between Alabama and Auburn.
Well, you probably heard our voices before on radio a few times. Maybe didn't see us that often on TV, but I guess it took APT to get these mugs on TV. Here we are.
And now you know why Gary and I have stuck to radio all these years. But at any rate, we're going to relive two specific games on the program tonight between Alabama and Auburn.
One game you may remember very well. 1970 was the year. Two of the headliners in that game will long be remembered in both schools' history. Auburn had a quarterback named Pat Sullivan. Alabama had a running back by the name of Johnny Musso. I think you remember them both.
Now, I tell you, but very important on this program tonight is something that can be done for you. Because if you are one of the 1 million Alabamians who do not have a high school degree, you can do something about that, and we're going to tell you how on this program.
Best thing you want to do is make note of this phone number. It's 1-800-392-8086. That's 1-800-392-8086. You'll get all the details there about GED on APT. You watch the APT programs, they'll help you accomplish your GED diploma, which is the equivalent of a high school degree. So watch APT for more details. Stay with us, we'll tell you more about that.
We're going to spell it out, A, B, C, D, exactly what you need to do and what you can do between the games. But right now, Gary, isn't it time for the kickoff?
Oh, I remember it well. 1970, late November, Alabama takes a big lead. Auburn comes back. I don't think I'll ever forget it. Yeah, it was 71 degrees and partly cloudy on that November 28th in 1970. Alabama, the home team, wearing the red. They send out all their seniors as captains. Auburn comes out with Ronnie Ross and Larry Willingham. But with that long line of seniors that you see, Dave Brungard is the spokesman. John, Dave Brungard came down from Ohio, didn't he?
Transferred from Ohio State, Gary, and he had 2 real good years with the Alabama Crimson Tide and was elected captain, as you can see today. And he found a home down here. He still lives in Birmingham.
Well, Alabama won the toss. They elected to receive, and they marched with the opening kickoff 80 yards in 7 plays. Guess who the workhorse is? Number 22, Johnny Musso. Musso only gets 3 on that first one, but Auburn gets a penalty, and then Johnny goes 13. And I know most of us at Auburn hated to see that ball in the hands of Johnny Musso.
Well, of course, Musso, I guess, would be one of the most popular Alabama runners for players in history, really. He had a record that Bobby Humphrey broke, so you have an idea of what the intervening 20 years were like. Johnny's a great fellow, lives in Chicago.
Well, they also could give to that up back, and this is Brungard. We mentioned him earlier as a captain. This is a 25-yard run, and remember Auburn had broken a long Alabama win streak, like 5 years in a row just a year earlier, and so it looked like Alabama wanted to reestablish the win streak earlier. They had a lot of us from the loveliest village a little shell-shocked as they got the ball down quickly to the 34. A little defensive play here on Musso. He doesn't get that much. And I think we get a penalty, another penalty. And
Alabama was in motion.
Yeah, another 5-yard penalty. But then Alabama just keeps on keeping on. There's Danny Sansbury, the defensive end, making a good play. Scott Hunter, however, decides to throw the ball for the first time today. And Musso's been doing pretty well. Why not throw it to John? So he does. Here's a little screen out in the pass. Great. That's Big O Hanna, isn't it? 73,
number
John?
73 was John Hanna, All-American, All-World in the pros later on.
Yeah, one of the finest offensive linemen, I guess, ever to play this game. And so they're down to the 14. And again, you're going to get a little jumping around before that play, before they get to the 14. Musso didn't get much, but Auburn was penalized 5 yards. Here is a 7-yard run. It'll take it into the 14. Johnny Musso, this kind of running that's typical of him, the way he flew in the air and got an extra yard or so after he was hit.
Good block from David Bailey, too, here.
And from the 14, here goes the Italian Stallion into the end zone. And as the guy said, almost before the national anthem was out of the air, Alabama had the lead. They go that quick drive. Still 11:43 left in the first quarter. And it's 6-0. We're going to see the point after in just a minute after a little celebration from Alabama players. And the start of this game, John, every year, I'm sure you remember it, you could almost cut the emotions with a knife when it's Auburn, Alabama time.
Absolutely. When the two bands matched out there just before anybody's heart, they didn't start beating fast, there's something wrong with it.
Well, you didn't see Richard Simony kick it through, but it is 7-0. And the Auburn offense does not get off to a great start. We get a 19-yard kickoff return by Alan Page. Tigers will take over on their 34. And for you Auburn fans, there's some names you're going to remember. The quarterback is Pat Sullivan. The running backs are Wallace Clark and Mickey Zofko. They got a guy named Terry Beasley split out on the side. So a pretty good offense, but Alabama's defense doesn't allow them to get started very good. Here is Wallace Clark, and he doesn't get much. Just, as a matter of fact, no gain is the way they typed it out on the play-by-play on that draw.
That was Jeff Rousey that put him down here.
Here's a good Pat Sullivan to Alvin Bressler pass. I didn't mention Alvin as one of the wideouts. Of course, Beasley was the main wide receiver, but Alvin Bressler certainly caught his share. And so did Dick Schmaltz and several other players. But anyhow, that pass for a first down, an incomplete pass, follows a delay of game penalty. And this is the rush coming out. They're trying to set a screen, and Sullivan overthrows Wallace Clark. So Alabama playing some good defense. Here's a pass for Terry Beasley. And Terry slipped and went down. And one of the key plays is this next one, because Terry Beasley, and the hit doesn't look that hard on this film, but Terry is out. He really gets his bell rung there by Tommy Wade. And Beasley left the game, and John, that was such a great factor. He was out for a long time.
He was out for a long time, and we weren't sure he'd make it back. Tommy Wade hit him cleanly, but he really did rock him.
Well, Tommy Wade is the man on the end of this punt by David Beverly. And Alabama's going to be in business on the 30. And if you're an Auburn fan, it's not looking good. Beasley's on the sidelines hurt. It's already 7-0. And here comes that Alabama offense again with Musso. 6 plays, 70 yards. It starts kind of innocently. They give it to John for just 3 yards here on that first play. But it's going to get worse before it gets better for those of us from the orange and blue school. Scott Hunter to David Bailey. This is good for 15 yards. Bailey and Raniger were the wide receivers. And, of course, Hunter threw a lot to his backs. But here is Scott, sportscaster now. John, how we let him get in this racket? He's down in Mobile, isn't he?
Yeah, that he is. And he covers a lot of territory. I stay and visit with Scott every season. Enjoy it.
Brungard gets only 1 on this carry, but
good defense. I think Sansbury led that.
Stacked it up. Tommy Uraut's in the middle of that somewhere, and a few others. And anyhow, here goes Musso. Johnny is going to be good this time for 13 yards, and it's first down on the Auburn 38. Now a swing pass. Hunter throwing to Brungard. He kind of mixes it around, as I say. You can remember the tearaway jerseys. You see Musso's shoulder pad flapping as he went up, but they get it to Brungard out in the flat.
Good open field tackle here.
Yeah, the Auburn defense playing well, but giving ground. And here comes the big one. Watch Hunter. We got David Bailey. Well, I think we're going to get the penalty first. My buddy Tommy Uraut doing a little jumping. I think they turned down the penalty for a very good reason. There's the touchdown pass to David Bailey.
He Z'd down and Z'd out and was wide open, and Buddy C is giving him a lift. I think it's best.
Oh, with some shocked Auburn people looking on, the point after makes it 14-0, and Alabama gets another drive that leads to a field goal, and it's 17-0. The Crimson Tide, before the first quarter was over, before Auburn finally gets something good to happen, and the defense makes the play. Here's Keith Green knocking the ball away from Phil Chafin, who caught it, and then Green, and all that scramble, ends up recovering. And so Auburn's in business on the Alabama 44. The first good thing that happened to the Tigers all day, I guess. And here's Harry Unger, big running back from Fayette, running for 4. And then they pass to Unger for 13, John. And Auburn people starting to take a little bit of breath, I guess.
Tom Surlis, fine linebacker, was in on that previous play. And that's Jim Croft chasing down number 54. He played fine football for Alabama.
Well, Beasley still on the sideline, so Sullivan throws to Dick Schmaltz, who had been a high school teammate of his, and Schmaltz, the John Carroll native, takes it all the way down to 1st and 10 on the Tide 12-yard line. And big Wallace Clark is going to take it right up the middle for 7 here. Clark was an excellent runner at fullback for Auburn, and then, of course, Mickey Zofko was the tailback. And after Clark takes it to the 5, why, that's what Sullivan's going to do.
Croft and Surlis made the stop then.
Give it to Zofko, and he gets 2, so it's 3rd and 1. You see them measure it, really less than 1, but officially they make it a 1-yard play, so Zofko gets the call again from Pat Sullivan. Zofko, the eye back in that lineup, the deep back. And this is enough for first and goal to go. He doesn't quite get in, but it's first and goal Auburn. I guess maybe the Alabama defense, after seeing Zofko 2 times in a row, said no on the 3rd time, because we're going to hand it to Zofko once again, and a pretty good wall of crimson stops him over there.
Robin Parkhouse, I think, led the way.
So Sullivan said, all right, you want to look at Zofko? I'll fake it to Zofko, and I'll follow him in. Watch the official get fooled. He signals touchdown when Zofko crosses the goal line, but there comes Sullivan with the ball, and the point after by Gardner Jett. It's Auburn back in it at 17-7. You see still 9:45 left in the first half. Jett kicks a point after, and there was a key play that we don't show in our film here, John. I remember it well. Scott Hunter's pass was intercepted by Ronnie Ross, a tight end playing linebacker who's from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think that was the play of the day.
May have been one of the biggest, yeah, because
he intercepted in the end zone.
Ronnie brought it back from a big Alabama drive, and it ended up Auburn got down here. We got 3 seconds left in the half. The field goal by Gardner Jett, and the halftime score. The Alabama Crimson Tide has the lead, but Auburn's back in it. It's 17-10 as we break for halftime.
That game was one of the 2 most exciting games I played in. Alabama-Ole Miss in '69, which we won, and that one which we lost, even though it was still the most exciting.
Well, it was, Scott. You know, I think the atmosphere, and I remember watching the '69 Ole Miss game where Archie Manning was a quarterback, and you and he and y'all both, it was a situation, I guess, of who had the ball last. And going back to the '70 game, you know, we at Auburn, we didn't play very well in the first half, and right before the end of the half, we got a couple of scores, and Ole Mo swung around, and then we jockeyed a little bit in the 3rd quarter, and then in the 4th quarter, I guess we both scored just about every time we had the ball, and whoever had the ball last was going to win, and fortunately for us that we did.
Well, I remember we got ahead 28-27 with about 2 minutes to go, and somebody said, I hope that'll hold up. And I said, it won't. If number 7 comes back on the field, and you did.
Well, we had gotten kind of a hot hand and had that momentum going, and I remember hitting Mickey Zofko out in the flat, and in fact, I've told the quarterbacks before, you know, you throw a 5-yard pass and let them take it 60 or 70 for you, and that's what happened, and we were able to score with, 30, 40 seconds to go, and it was certainly a big win for us.
How many yards, or you had a half mile in passing that day, didn't you?
You know, I don't remember. I guess it was 300 or so. You did your same, so it was fun.
Second half, Auburn received a kickoff but fumbled on the 4th play, and here goes Alabama as the Tide has the ball from the 33, but Dave Beck gets it back for Auburn. The Huntsville native comes up with a big interception, and from the 24, Auburn begins a 76-yard, 6-play drive, innocently enough. A little pass to Clark that only gets a couple of yards, but this is going to get us back even. And John, after that 17-0 lead, for Auburn to get back even with Alabama had to be a big emotional lift.
That's why that big play by Ronnie Ross was so big.
Well, the fullback Clark gets a handoff here for 3. It's 3rd and 5, but Terry Beasley's back in the game. We talked about him being hurt early. Beasley makes this catch, good for the first down, and Beasley's really going to have a key play in just a moment. First, a quick pitch out to Mickey Zofko, and Zofko, who, John, you said you hadn't thought about in a while, was a great player at all.
He was. That was Robert Higginbotham making the tackle on Zofko.
Well, here comes the play that was one of the key offensive plays, an inside reverse to Terry Beasley. Big hole at first, but watch him make it on his own. The rest of the way, he gets all the way down and is run out of bounds on the 7-yard line. But Terry Beasley, who had great speed, ran great pass routes, was also a pretty good ball carrier if you could get it to him. So first and goal.
Super Ronnie broke some tackles and just simply outran people. No substitute for speed.
You know, and here's Pat Sullivan doing something Auburn liked to do, and that's just a quarterback sweep. They put a couple blockers out front. Zofko got stepped on. Touchdown made it 17-16. A score it seems like I've heard somewhere before.
Good block on McKinney.
And here's the point after.
I'm sure, Gary, you're referring to the Penn State score.
Yes, I figured now both fans like that score, 17-16. Anyhow, this one made it 17-17. Still 8:35 left in the 3rd quarter. And believe me, a lot of things left to happen in this football game.
It was a wild game. It really was.
David Beverly later had punted the ball dead on the Alabama 5, and the Tide starts this march. A 15-yard run by Johnny Musso, the Italian stallion. And they send Brungard. Kind of a double-barreled attack with Musso and Brungard both running well this day. And here's Brungard going 6 yards. 4 more for Johnny Musso will make it a first down. And they really just keep on pounding away with Musso and Brungard until Hunter finds the right time to pass the ball. And Alabama mixed their offense pretty well.
Scott had all kind of throwing records. Gary Hollingsworth has beaten some of them this year, Gary, so you can see how long those stood, too.
Well, you see the running of Musso and Brungard, and so now Hunter says, well, maybe a good time to throw the ball. And he pops Musso one more time, and then comes a pass that I'm looking at. David Bailey is going to get 18 yards on this pass and move the ball down into Auburn territory.
David was from Meridian, Mississippi. In fact, Reiniger, the other end, both of our ends that year, Gary, were Mississippians.
Yeah, I remember they both came out of the state of Mississippi, but here is Hunter, who was from Mobile and is back there now throwing it. And there's Bailey, open inside. Good defensive play, but not till after he caught the ball. So now the Auburn defense decides to stiffen up a little bit. They're down to the 40, but they won't stiffen up till Musso breaks away. Here he goes with a pretty good run. And a good cut. This is typical Johnny Musso.
That was. He took the words out of my mouth.
Not that much speed, but just great balance and able to change direction.
Knowing where he wants to go.
This time they stopped Johnny for no gain. It doesn't happen too often, but Musso is not able to get anything. That's Tommy Urath, number 69, who had a hold of him. And they get 3 yards for Johnny this time. Again, Tommy Urath comes in. It's the final play of the third quarter, so we end the quarter still even up at 17 all, and early in the fourth quarter, we're going to get a pass play. Larry Willingham makes a big play. I think the camera's a little late getting to it as we go to the fourth quarter, but Hunter tries to go to Bailey on 3rd down and 7. Larry Willingham broke the play up in the end zone. Alabama will go for a field goal. 14:52 left to play, and it's 20-17 to tie back in front.
Somebody boosted through. Tommy Urath, Gary mentioned, he, of course, is one of the 2 Urath brothers who covered themselves with glory for Auburn.
Well, his brother Gusty was with me in the booth as we were broadcasting this
That's
game.
right. That's right. It sure was.
Well, here's the kickoff to Terry Henley. And Terry Henley, who had his great year in the next couple of years, but in 70 he was primarily a kick returner. He got it back out to 26, and here's Sullivan to Beasley, only 4 yards, but just the fact that Beasley's out there made the defense adjust a little bit.
McKinney made the stop, but you got to play soft against Terry Beasley for sure.
This is Wallace Clark with a few blockers out front, and a big fullback gets 9 more and a first down.
Higginbotham and Silas on the stop.
Here's something didn't work. Quarterback draw was a big play for Auburn all year, but that time Prof, I don't think, wanted any part of it.
And I think Jeff Beard ought to handle that too.
Sullivan to Beasley did work, though. Here's Pat, and here's Terry. How many times did I say Sullivan to Beasley? The camera thought he was a little faster than he was. I got the head, but he is tackled on the 19.
Went right.
They had a touchdown pass called back, a halfback option by Zofko, and so here's Sullivan trying to make something after the penalty. He got a few yards back on a completion to Beasley, but on 3rd and 11 he misses Zofko, so here comes Gardner Jett, and another field goal, 37 yards this time, 12-19 remaining. And we're right back where we were when the afternoon began, all even. It's Auburn 20 and Alabama 20. And
It's still a lot of things happening.
Oh, I was going to say, John, it's still not over by a long shot. Alabama takes over on the kickoff. Buddy C gets it out to the 24. And
Buddy C, Gary, has got his PhD, and he's now a PhD and a psychotherapist.
Dr. C is going to bring it out here. I'm almost tempted to say there was a goodie on that hit, but I won't do that. Tiger defense stiffens this time. Musso gets 3 yards on first down, but Mike Neal, number 40, one of the Neal brothers who played their dad, the great artist with the Post-Herald. Here's David Brungard, and my buddy Tommy Urath is there once again, number 69, fought off a block and got over. And then they try a little draw to Johnny Musso, and while that normally works, this time Rick Chastain wants no part of Musso. Good open field tackle by Chastain to get to. And so it's a punt. Larry Willingham will get the ball on the 36-yard line.
Left. No, that's a right-footed kicker.
Yeah, that ball picked up by Willingham in heavy traffic, and now Auburn's going to take the lead for the first time. Sullivan to Zofko, 22 yards, and a first down on the Tide 42. This is a game I think all of us will remember a long time because it was so back and forth.
It was a beautiful day and a great game.
Wallace Clark this time, 20 more yards. And Auburn is working its way all the way down to the Alabama 22. Try to take Zofko out wide on a quick pitch. That was a favorite Auburn play, and Alabama defense played it well, only 3 yards. Sullivan and Zofko running the split T option this time, and it's good for only 2 more yards.
I think that was Lanny Norris from Russellville on the stop line.
And so 3rd and 5. And the tight end hadn't been used much. Robbie Robinette was playing at tight end. As I say, Ronnie Ross was over on defense playing linebacker. And so Sullivan throws to Robinette this time, and Robbie makes a pretty good run. The camera loses him, but he bounces off some people, gets in. 17-yard touchdown. Auburn's in front the first time in the day, 26-20. Gardner Jett will come on to make it 27-20. And after being down 17-0, you couldn't blame the Auburn team, but they're feeling pretty good about themselves. The Alabama team, however, didn't think it was over, as you'll find out in just a minute. 8:27, and again, John, we'll say it once more, a lot of football left in this one.
Absolutely.
Raniger is the kick returner, not a position that he did that much of, primarily a receiver, but he brings it out to the 17, even though I think his teammate was wanting to stay in the end zone.
George is an SEC official now. I think he still lives in the state of Mississippi.
Johnny Musso. I said that name a few times, too. 14 yards for Musso. Johnny Simmons, the safety, had to come up and make the play, and that's not good when your safety man has to tackle the running back. Here's Scott Hunter throwing a pass to Moore, good for 13 more yards.
Randy Moore, fine tight end.
Again, Simmons had to make a tackle. So from the 44, here goes Musso, only 2 this time, but it's a thing you had to respect, Johnny, every time you got the ball, and so you had to play the middle, and that opened up other things. 2nd and 8. Hunter gets blitzed this time. Auburn does a little blitzing on him. They get him, but watch, somebody comes in late. And so what looks like a big play turns into a 15-yard penalty, and that helps Alabama. Takes it out to the 47, where it's 3rd down and 1. And Johnny squeezes out that yard and a little more.
Sort of a preview of the wishbone years, Gary, in that formation.
2nd and 8. And this time we're going to get a blitz out of Neal, and Hunter did not release the ball. He's thrown for a loss. So a big play, 2nd down and 19. Alabama back on the 46. And watch George Raniger. We've been talking about him. Dave Beck was a 5'9" defensive back for Auburn. He's got Raniger pretty well covered, except he needs a step ladder. Raniger gets up above him, gets it, takes it on in, and it's 27-26. And Dave Beck told me later, he said, I was there. I just needed to be a little taller.
That's right, he was.
But Raniger took it away from him and took it in, and now Alabama will go for 2. Coach Bryant, with 5:18 left in the game, decided this was the time to try to regain the lead. I'm sure when you're down 17-0 or had the 17-0 lead get away, you want to do something to lift your spirits again. So they go for 2, run a nice pattern. Watch Bailey just go up in the end zone and flare out wide right. Hunter hits him with a nice pass, and it is 28-27. And again, those Auburn people who may have celebrated a little earlier are brought back down to earth because Alabama has the lead. And again, John, what they say, the lady hasn't not sung yet because there's a lot left. You follow Bailey off there. He had a nice catch and a nice game.
The fat lady is just adjusting her corset. She's not singing yet.
Well, Auburn gets it on the 39 after this kickoff.
McElroy squibs it.
So an up back brings it out to the 39-yard line, which is pretty good field position. Still lots of time. And Sullivan, the offense, goes to work. 1st down.
David Knapp on the tackle.
Alvin Bressler, the receiver, up over the middle, and Alvin has a 1st down after a 19-yard gain. The ball in the Alabama 42. Sullivan to Zofko out in the flat. And Mickey is going to make a nice run with the ball. Out to practice early, I think the guy said about this play. Pushed out of bounds finally on the 6-yard line. 1st and goal to go. Auburn trying to come back down now by 1 point, remember. And we're going to send Zofko in for 3 yards. And Wallace Clark, the fullback, will take it the rest of the way. 3 more yards in.
Raines was a tackle then, saving the day for Bama, but they weren't through.
Temporary save because there's Wallace Clark into the end zone. It's 33-28. Obviously, Auburn feels like they have to go for 2 now. And Sullivan tries to go to Bressler, but Robert Higginbotham comes up with a big play. John, they could not advance an extra point try like they could now. So
no,
today he'd take off running, wouldn't he?
He'd take off at the other end of the field.
So it's 33 to 28. Certainly not a safe lead, a 5-point lead. And just 3:56 remaining. Here comes Buddy C out of the end zone. And while there isn't any more scoring, I give away the final score. There's still a lot of football left because anytime you hand the ball to Musso, as Alabama's going to do right now, you know the defense is not comfortable. You got Hunter's right arm to throw the ball, Johnny Musso to run it. They start him off with a 4-yard gain. Still enough time, 3:56 remaining. Alabama didn't have to be in a big hurry here. Russo's going to get 5 more yards on this carry. The Auburn defense playing well, but remember, they've already given up 28 points. Here's 3rd and 1. And Buddy C, I think his only carry from scrimmage all day, gets 2 yards on the first down. So now Hunter goes to David Bailey. The running game has gotten him a first down, so on first down they throw for 12. And the Tide is out to the 44, and the Auburn folks get nervous, but here comes Dave Beck, a little redemption. Raniger caught that touchdown over him. Now Hunter goes for Raniger this time, and Dave Beck is going to pick off the interception on the 27. Dave will fight his way back. Actually, the ball a little offline on the throw. Raniger didn't have a chance at it.
One of the Auburn rushers had his hand on Scott, and he did a good job, and the pass just missed from him.
Beck gets it all the way out to the 42, where it's 1st and 10.
Jimmy Rosser, one of the tacklers over there, and Mike Eckenrod, I believe.
Still time for Alabama to get the ball back, but they've got to hold Auburn first, and so they do. Zofko gets nothing, trying to go outside. Ben Sullivan keeps it himself and gets a nice 8-yard gain, and Auburn's in pretty good shape at 3rd and 2. Watch this run by Pat. This again is that quarterback power. They get a couple good blocks in front of him, and Sullivan was a good athlete. You all think about him as a thrower, but he was a good runner. So here is 3rd down and 2. Watch him swarm on Mickey Zofko as Auburn tries to power the ball. And bang, good penetration. So it's 4th down.
That was Marvin Barron, I believe, and Thomas Boyd over here.
David Beverly, is in punt formation, and Tommy Wade is deep for Alabama. Catches the ball in the 16, brings it back to the 22, and I can still remember the noise in Legion Field about this time, John. It's a 5-point game, late in the 4th quarter. The team behind with the ball, and everybody's on their feet.
Oof. Scott got that one away, but he paid the price.
Well, he tried to get it to Raniger, but it was incomplete. And this time he tries to go to Sawyer. But Johnny Simmons comes up with a big interception for Auburn. It pretty much seals this football game. They get that final play, the kneel-down play by quarterback Pat Sullivan. You see Simmons, and the Auburn Tigers make it 2 in a row over Alabama after a lot of frustration in previous years. 1970's final score was Auburn 33, Alabama 28. And, of course, there were 2 legendary coaches handling the 2 teams.
I was just going to say a great victory with Coach Jordan, and across the way from him, Coach Bryant.
You're going to see them meet here as there's the mass of people, and there's Shug Jordan coming out. And you'll see that houndstooth hat in just a minute getting in with the sleeveless sweater. There's Coach Bryant, a big win for Auburn.
Aloha, I'm Wally Amos. I've sold a lot of cookies on
October 1st, 1979, Legion Field.